Good morning, students. Today in Nationalism in India, we will be revising civil disobedience movement. In civil disobedience movement, we will see the Simon Commission, formation of Swaraj Party, different participants of civil disobedience movement, Salt law, etc. Now, children, in February 1922, Mahatma Gandhi called off the non-cooperation movement, and you know why he has called off the non-cooperation movement, because it was becoming violent in different parts of the country, and the Congress was also tired of mass struggle and wanted to participate in the elections of provincial council set by the Government of India Act 1919. Many Congress leaders, they also wanted to participate in the council elections. The people who wanted to protest within the established parliamentary setup via debate led by C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru. That means C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru formed the Swaraj Party. But leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, they wanted more radical and aggressive agitations for full independence. In such a scenario, two developments shaped India during the late 1920s. First, the worldwide economic depression and Simon Commission. Simon Commission arrived in India in 1928, but it was set up in 1927. Under Sir John Simon, Simon Commission was set up in response to the Indian nationalist movement. It was to look into the functioning of constitutional system and suggest the changes. But children, this commission was not accepted by the Indians because the commission did not have a single Indian members. They were all British. Therefore, upon their arrival in 1928, it was greeted with the slogans Simon Go Back by all the parties. All the parties, including the Congress and the Muslim League, participated in the demonstration. Children, remember one thing, Simon Commission was set up in 1927 and it arrived in India in 1928. Now, the second factor, that is Great Depression. Agriculture prices began to fall from 1926 and collapsed after 1930 as the demand for agricultural goods fell and export declined. Peasants found it difficult to sell their harvest and pay their revenues. By 1830, the countryside was in turmoil. Now, children, let's revise Salt March. On 31st January 1930, Gandhiji sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin stating the 11 demands. Some of these were of general interest, others were specific demands of different classes from industrialists to peasants. His letter was an ultimatum. If the demands were not fulfilled by 11th March, the Congress would launch a civil disobedience campaign. The government was unwilling to negotiate. Gandhiji started his famous Salt March, accompanied by 78 of his trusted volunteers. On 12th March 1930, the march was over 240 miles. It began from Sabarmati Ashram in Gujarat to the coastal town of Dandi, ending on 6th April when he ceremonially violated the law by manufacturing the salt by boiling the salt water. This marked the beginning of civil disobedience movement. As the movement spread, foreign clothes was boycotted and the liquor shops were picketed. Payment of revenue and taxes were refused. Village officials resigned, and the forest laws were violated. Children, once again I am repeating the Dandi March. On 12th March, Mahatma Gandhi began his historic march from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, a village on Gujarat sea coast. He was accompanied by 78 of his trusted volunteers, but as Gandhiji advanced, others joined the party. On the morning of 6th April, Gandhiji violated the salt law by picking up some salt from the sea water. Gandhiji, Gandhiji's campaign against the salt law was a signal to disobey the government and the starting of civil disobedience movement. In response to these developments, the colonial government started arresting the people, and there were clashes between them, and the people started to turn violent. Abdul Ghaffar Khan was arrested in April 1930 in Peshawar. A month later, Gandhiji was arrested. In protest, industrial workers in Sholapur attacked all the structures that symbolized the British rule. Even women and children were beaten up. About 1 lakh people were arrested. In such a situation, Gandhiji again decided to call off the movement. On 5th March 1931, Gandhiji signed a pact with Irvine, which was known as Gandhi-Irvine Pact. According to this, Gandhiji consented to participate in the second round table conference, and the government agreed to release all the political prisoners. In December 1931, Gandhiji went to London, but negotiations broke down and he returned disappointed. When he came back and he saw the government had begun a new cycle of repression, he found most of the leaders were in jail. Mahatma Gandhi relaunched the civil disobedience movement, but by 1934 the movement had lost its momentum. Now we will see the participants of civil disobedience movement. First, farmers or rich peasants. Patidars of Gujarat and Jats of UP were the active participants of this movement. For them, the fight for Swaraj was fight against high revenues. They were disappointed when the movement was called off in 1931 without the revenue rates being revised. That is why when the movement was relaunched or restarted in 1932, many of them refused to participate. Next, business class. They were keen on expanding their business, wanted protection against imported goods, and a rupee sterling foreign exchange ratio that would discourage the import. To organize business interests, they formed the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920 and the Federation of the Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industries, that is FICCI, in 1927. Children, you have to learn the date when these federations or organizations were formed. Led by the prominent industrialists such as Purushottam Das, Thakur Das, and G.D. Birla, the businessmen attacked the British control over Indian economy and supported the civil disobedience movement. They extended financial assistance to the movement and refused to buy or sell imported foreign goods. To them, Swaraj meant a time when colonial restrictions on business will be removed. But after the failure of Round Table Conference, they were no longer enthusiastic. They were also worried about the growing influence of socialism on the younger members of the Congress. Now, industrial workers. limited participation in the regions where their organization was very strong. For example, in Nagpur and Chota Nagpur and tin mines, a large number of workers stayed aloof, but in spite of that, some workers participated in civil disobedience movement. They demanded the action against low wages and poor working conditions. The Congress also was reluctant to include their demands as it feared the alienation of the industrialists. Congress did not want to alienate the industrialists and hence preferred to keep the workers' demand at bay. Next, for the first time, large number of women came out of their homes into the political arena, though they majorly belonged to the upper classes and rich households. Gandhiji was convinced that it was the duty of women to look after home and hearth, to be a good mother and good wives. For a long time, the Congress was reluctant to allow women to hold any position of authority within the organization. Their presence was symbolic and nothing altered in their larger perception. But on the other hand, women began to see service to the nation as a sacred duty of women. I think children now the participants of civil disobedience movement is clear. That's all for today and have a nice day.